And you may have heard people refer to it as a bond issue in the past. We're referring to this as a bond opportunity for USD 489. And the reason I want you to think about this, the opportunity is for voters to invest in our kids in our community, the opportunity for voters to invest in teachers in our community, and probably as important, it's an opportunity to invest in our community. And I really want you to understand how important this really is to our community. The investment and changing the landscape of the community of Hays for probably the next 100 years is going to happen on May 10th. And we have that opportunity. So we don't want to miss that opportunity as we go forth and through this. And I want to always start with where we started from. I say we've started back in June. I would say we probably started these conversations way before June, but officially we started back in June. We had a bond visioning committee that was consisted of community members, educators, administrators, and if we counted up the hours, we probably thought we probably put in over 1,500 hours from June to where we're at today. This included some surveys that were sent out to the community. We got a pretty good response on those surveys. We were over 1,100 responses each time we sent it out, which we feel like is a pretty good response rate. Now, from all that work, we created a bond scope, and that was just based off what we got back from surveys and also just what the committee did. Now, in education, anytime we start a new initiative, we always want to look at the why. And that we always feel like if you give a good why, then the how comes and it follows the why. And the how meaning, how are we going to get this done? Because I'm sure you're probably aware, it's been a while since we passed the bond issue in Hays 489. We got a history. And when I came to this district, that was always the first question that everyone wanted to talk to me about is, well, how are you going to get a bond passed in Hays? Well, I think you start with the why. So today, what I want to present to you is the why. And hopefully you'll see this as an opportunity. Our why is basically space. I think sometimes people always just assume that, well, we just want new, fancier buildings. No, it's not really that. It's space. And that's our why. Because as you can see, our district has grown. Going all the way back to 2006, we were just about 2,700 students. This year, we're just right at 3,100 students. So you can see the growth that has occurred. Now, of course, we've had some dips, and we will have dips. It's inevitable. You're going to have certain classes that are a little smaller, but you'll have certain classes that are big. And it happens. But if you see the trend, you can see that we're growing. Now, the thing is, we want to continue to grow. Am I on the wrong? Yeah. There we go. So let's talk about where this is at with space. This right here, the red is in 2017. These are the numbers that were in our buildings. You can see in Hays High in 2017, 780 students. Hays Middle School, 686. O'Laughlin, 380. Roosevelt, 398. Fast forward to this year, we got over 900 students at Hays High. Hays Middle, 730. O'Laughlin, we've even grown a little bit. Roosevelt, we've grown. So we're growing in all areas. Now, the proposed capacity, as you can see, is we're looking at building more space. Hays High, the capacity of current Hays High was, 862? We're looking at building more space for our students at Hays High. All of our schools, this is all about creating more space. These are some of the hard facts. And this might be a little bit of whining, but I think we got to be honest with everyone. Districts passing bonds, and this is just on population. Now, we've just included, Hays right now is ranked the 21st biggest city in the state of Kansas. As you can see, we're white. It's because we haven't passed a bond in over 30 years in this district. And I would tell you, it's been 45 years since you've passed a major bond. That was the current Hays High. The 1991 bond was just a fix-it bond, where we went in, did fix certain things that just need repair. A little more whining probably, but I don't mean this to sound like whining, but these are 5A districts that have passed bonds since 1995. We're white. Everyone else is pink. I think the important thing there is we've got to look at that opportunity, how it can really impact our community in so many ways. Districts passing bonds. This is just a map to show you a little bit. The red is all red, blue, and yellow are all districts that have passed bonds. Now there is some, significance in terms of the yellow is districts who've passed bonds with sales tax, and we'll talk about that in a second. Red is those who have passed district with state aid, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. And then the blue is districts that have passed it without state aid. And I'll try to explain that. But you can see right there where that arrow is, we're still not quite there. Now, this is the interesting thing. You'll notice, of course, and we've highlighted all our league schools, and that's really not what this is about. That they have all passed bonds in recent times. Of course, we haven't, but this is the part that I want you to highlight on the state aid. The state of Kansas gives districts state aid for passing bonds that helps them with capital improvements. Hays currently does not qualify for state aid. Now, a lot of people want to know, well, why is that? Why does Hays not? Well, we're considered a property wealthy district. And because we're property wealthy, and there's a lot of factors that come into that, and that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you want your property to be wealthy. But when it comes to getting state aid from the state of Kansas to assist with bond issues, it doesn't work for us. So look at Dodge City, 40% state aid. If they pass a $100 million bond, state of Kansas is sending them $40 million to assist with their new buildings. Garden City, 23%. $100 million bond, they're going to get $23 million. Hays, we don't qualify. There's nothing we can do about that. That's where we have approached the city on how we can look at sales tax. If you're understanding of what has happened recently, City Commission unanimously approved to put a sales tax question on the ballot. Now, what that'll do, if the voters approve a half-cent sales tax, that will, in a sense, be our state aid. Just like you, I'm going to go back to that slide, and so everyone understands. You as a taxpayer, when Dodge City passed their bond issue, you paid to help them build buildings in Dodge City. You paid to help Garden City build new buildings. Because when you send your state tax dollars to the state of Kansas, they redistribute those in the form of state aid. We don't get state aid here. So the reason that we approached the city with the sales tax question was it's a way to balance the playing field. How can we get others outside of our community to help assist us with improving our schools? Just like you help other communities with your tax dollars when you send them to the state of Kansas. This is a question that we sent out on one of the surveys. Real quickly, I want you to understand that almost 52% said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. 22% said, this really doesn't affect my decision on the bond. Now, you could look at that two ways. But I think if you look at it, there's a potential that there's a lot of support out there for understanding how that is going to assist with getting others to pay, but it's also going to assist you as a property owner in lowering your property tax and the impact that a bond issue might have on your taxes. So here's our bond scope that has been put and will be put to the voters on May 10th. Of course, we'll start here at the bottom, $143.5 million. I know it's a big ask, folks. It's a big ask. But I would tell you it's a big ask for one reason. We haven't passed a bond issue in this district for 30 years. And if you go back, it's been 45 years for any major new improvements to your schools. And that was when Hayes High was built in 1977. I used this with the committee. There was an old oil commercial, and it was selling oil filters. And the guy walks into the mechanic, and he's debating whether he really wants to spend money on changing his oil. And the guy goes, "Well, you can pay me now, you can pay me later." I've used that analogy with our visioning committee, and the people I've spoken, is that we've chosen the pay me later option. We put it off. That's the reason it's big. Now, here's the scope. Build a new high school, $76 million. Renovate, of course, when we build new Hayes High, we're going to renovate the current Hayes High. There's some work that needs to be done to that building, even though it is our newest building. And we're going to move our middle school kids into Hayes High. We're going to renovate O'Laughlin for $15 million. We're going to renovate Roosevelt for $14 million. And then we're going to renovate the middle school, and that's going to become an elementary school. And then at the very top there, we will be closing Lincoln Elementary and the Rockwell Administration Center. And we will be moving into the current Wilson Elementary. Now, this is just an example. Of course, people always want to say, well, what's that? What's the sales tax? How much is that going to be? I use this as an example. So if you went to the grocery store and you bought $200 worth of groceries, and sales tax currently is 8.75. That's going to cost you about $217.50 with sales tax. If we approve the sales tax, wrong button, sorry. Oh. How come that's not coming up? Well, this was the good part. Well, okay, I'm not going to do the math for you, but you know how to do it? I don't know, I'm clicking it and it's not popping. Must be another screen there. Well, in a nutshell, this is what I'll tell you. If you bought that same $200 worth of groceries at a half-cent sales tax, you're going to spend $1 more. $1 more on that trip to the grocery store. It's going to cost you $218.50. So that's why I just want you to understand, yeah, we're going to ask more from you, but it's not as much as maybe you would think it's going to be. So the question is, and I've gotten this question, well, why can't we just make them smaller and just do it over time? I get that. I understand that. But I'm going to tell you what happens in that scenario. Things get more expensive. More expensive. We're talking $143.5 million here in 2022. We wait just 1 year. That's going to go up $12 million. Just 1 year. That's what the costs are projected to go up on the same exact scope. If we look at over the course of the next 4 years, 19.4 million, 27. Folks, it's just going to get more expensive. And that's one of the reasons why because we've waited, things are more expensive. Now, what does this mean? This means, 143.5 million on a $150,000 home, $26.95 a month. If we approve the sales tax for your property tax, lowers it to $16 a month. $13 savings. On a $200,000 home, $35.94 a month. If we approve the sales tax, you're dropping it almost, $14 a month with the sales tax. And that's other people assisting to help us pay for these capital improvements. Timeline. This gets exciting, right? This is where this gets me excited. August of 24 is when we could be moving our high school kids into a brand new high school. Start calculating that. Seems like a long time, but it's not that far off. Now, I wish we could get every kid in the high school into a new building before they graduate. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. So I get it. Everyone starts calculating in their head, well, then my kid's going to do well. Oh, he's going to miss it. And I get it. I wish that weren't the case. But I think there's going to be some things as we start, and we're looking at starting, if it's approved on May 10th, we're looking at starting in January of 2023. And we'll move kids in August of 24. You can see the other timeline. Of course, while once we get the kids out of the current Hayes High into the new high school, we'll be renovating the high school so that our middle school kids can move in. And once we get that done, we'll move our middle school kids into that building. And it's just kind of the domino effect. And you can kind of see all this information will be available on our website if it's not already. But I think this is really exciting when we start talking about timelines. Now, May 10th. What I'm asking of you today is really two things. I'm asking you to vote because you have an opportunity as a voter to weigh in on the opportunity of how our community is going to look for the next 100 years. I'm also going to ask you that you share the information. Hopefully you heard enough of a why to go out and share with your neighbors, share with your friends, the information that I've shared. That's accurate information. I understand sometimes in bond issues, rumors tend to take over. And people then suddenly believe stuff that's not really true. Hopefully you've heard enough information that you can share the right information with your friends and neighbors. Now, I've talked about May 10th. It's a big day. It's a big day for our community going forward. But I'm going to tell you what's a bigger day than May 10th. It's May 11th. May 11th can be the most awesome day in our community, where kids suddenly realize the adults invested in us. And I can't tell you how impactful that will be to our community. When kids start realizing that the adults want to invest in them, that's a game changer, folks. I've been in districts where we've passed bond issues. The impact that you see with kids when they suddenly understand how adults feel about them and the impact that they are making for those kids, it's unbelievable. It's powerful. I hope on May 11th we are celebrating in this community. There's the other side of that. I try not to think about it. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow if it doesn't approve, because there's going to be a lot of kids that say they don't care about us. And it's hard to sit down with kids and get them to understand. Well, you know, it didn't work, but we'll go back. We'll try to figure some things out. This is an opportunity for kids, an opportunity for teaching staff, but it's an opportunity for our community. So I hope I have presented enough of a why that at least you're processing and maybe understanding how this can impact our community for the future. And what a great way to do it. I'm almost right on. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Anybody? Oh, we got one. Super. Oh, location. I'm glad I should have said that. The location of the Hayes High would be east of the current Hayes High. It's right now, it's a Milo field. The district owns the property. District owns 41 acres east of Hayes High, and it will be laid out there. If you drive down 13th, it's not directly across from St. Nicholas Church, but it's kind of like the walking path. You can see there's just a Milo field that's open land. If you go on our website, there's actually a aerial view of the 41 acres. And we don't actually have, and I wish I had some of this. I wish I had visuals today to share with you. Those are coming, and we'll get those out. You'll have an opportunity to see how it's going to be placed and what it's going to look like, for the most part, as those renderings come out. Yes.
Have there been any discussions with the city of Hayes regarding the traffic flow and things like that?
We have had initial conversations with the city of Hayes. We've talked to them about doing a flow. What I'm coming up with? A study. Traffic study to look at. We've also had an initial conversation, and I say initial, nothing official, with the Department of Transportation and looking at possible ways that maybe we could look at some school safety grants that might be available to us to assist with building some infrastructure for roadways out there. Because we completely understand we're adding a huge chunk of student population out there. I think there's also some possibility that we'll look at staggering start times for the middle school and the high school. So could be 15 minutes apart. So we can get a group in or a group out before the other group starts coming. Because we completely understand that we're creating some situations there, but we're working on things to address those. And hopefully we'll have those addressed before construction is finished. Yes?
What's going to happen to the 2 buildings that are not going to be used?
Okay, good question. Excellent question. No plans have been decided at this point, but I can give you this. Washington Elementary, we recently closed Washington Elementary just 3 years ago. The board went through a decision process to, vet. It was Overland Property Group. They've came in, and they've. I don't think they're finished yet, but they're turning those into apartments. And I've seen some pictures, and it's amazing what they're doing with that facility. Not saying that's going to happen with the facilities, but I would tell you that anything that we do as a district, we're going to make sure that is the best thing for our community. We want, those are great locations, and people with the ability to go in might be able to do some things that will benefit our community. So we'll make those decisions down the road, but you have to understand we're probably still 4 years away from moving out of those facilities. So we got a lot of time to make those decisions. Anything else? Oh, yes.
So walk-in voting may sense that you're pulling away. When does voter registration end, and when does early voting begin?
Voter registration ends April 19th. So you got a while. And I didn't give you much time to click on the QR code, but all those are available on our website if you want to do that. It's an easy way get registered, but April 19th is when voter registration ends. Walk-in voting starts 1 week before. So I would say May 3rd is when walk-in voting will be available. And it would be available from 8 to 5 only. So, yes.
With the new high school, will there also like be a new track field and football field?
Great question. Yes. I think the thing is, and I always try to share this, that you have to understand with a new high school comes some of those extracurricular things. And it's just, if you're going to have a high school, you got to have facilities, athletic facilities. Yes, the plan will be that we will have a football facility that will be a turf field. We'll have soccer facilities that would have a turf field. We will be adding a softball field with a complex, for fans to attend. And the football would be as well. Now, the question is, does that mean you're not going to play at Lewis Field? Right now, the plans are not necessarily that we would, but if it's just going to depend on what we can do with the money that is, bids have everything to do with what you can do. If there's a ability for us to build a big enough stadium, it might be an option. But at this point, that's not been decided. Yes.
Is there a minimum amount that you have to have before you can move in, or is the aforementioned amount is that the minimum that will take to move?
Are you talking dollar amount?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been estimated it's going to take 143 million. Yeah. Yes.
Ron, do you want to talk a little bit about the construction manager at risk process and how that kind of keeps us to that budget?
Yeah, now the district has hired a construction manager at risk, and basically they oversee the construction. And they're in partnership with Paul Wertenberger Construction. So there is going to be a lot of construction locally, and there'll be a lot of business that will elevate this community and businesses because of this. A lot of work's going to be done. A lot of the work will be, of course, you work with the construction manager at risk, but their role in all of this is just to keep us at budget. If we would, for some reason, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, if we go over budget, it's on them. We're at that point. The construction manager at risk, that's part of the risk, is that they take on any risk for anything that would. And sometimes in construction, you just never know what happens. But we've worked closely with them before on other projects, and we feel confident they're the right people. Yes.
Ron, your slideshow showed your enrollment was roughly 400 increase, but yet you're only asking for 300 more than current capacity at Phase High. Is that big enough?
Well, that is always a question. I would love to say that we're going to continue to grow and grow and grow. But at the same time, I think we also have to be reasonable. We can't build facilities that are not occupied. So, yeah, would we love to build it bigger? Absolutely. At the same time, we feel like this gives us potential growth for at least 20 years. Now, 20 years down the road, we'll see where we're at. The thing also that you have to understand about what we're building is we're building flexible space, meaning we're building areas that will allow groups to do, and it's how education has changed. We do a lot of project-based learning where they need larger areas, a lot more movement. So we're building some larger areas. Should we see a tremendous growth, and I hope we do, Doug Williams he's doing a heck of a job, and I'm telling you, we might get it done because of Doug and what he's been promoting with Grow Hayes. We'll have that ability. That flexible space suddenly becomes not as flexible because suddenly we might need a classroom. But I'm telling you that the numbers that we've projected, we feel very confident that we'll have adequate space for the next 20, probably 25 years.
Ron, do you want to address maybe some of the efficiencies that the school district will see with utilities and things of that nature by passing them on?
You bet. Of course, anytime you build a new facility, you're going to see much more efficient operation. Rockwell is an old building, and it's not always the most efficient operational building. Same way with Lincoln. Lincoln is a tremendous building. And in its heyday was probably the cat's meow. It's not the most efficient operation. So we will see a savings in terms of some of our older buildings, and of course we'll be closing one building. I mean, we're closing two, but we'll only be losing one building out of our operational because we'll be building a new high school. But we'll see a savings. Definitely, we'll see a savings on the district side as we reduce one building. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your plan for as far as maintaining that building as we go forward?
The Rockwell?
The new facility that's setting funds aside to.
Well, and those are tough questions because I think sometimes that has always been kind of a myth that the district has not taken care of their facilities, which, I don't have any history beyond 3 years. I can definitely tell you that we're taking care of our buildings and taking good care. I always struggle to talk a lot about what was in the past. Decisions are tough, and maybe some of those decisions were just based upon what they had available. But I would guarantee you, and Chris Hipp, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance, and Shannon Dinkle is Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. We've made a real impact in terms of this is priority, and we'll spend the dollars wherever we need to spend the dollars to make sure that our facilities are taken good care of. And so I don't want to get too much into the past, but I would tell you, I don't think you'll have an issue. What else?
Can I poke the bear?
Yeah, for sure.
Hayes is blessed to have very wonderful public and private schools. We are grateful to have choice for both. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between the public and private schools, and perhaps what benefits might be allocated towards the private schools?
Well, it is a tough question because it's always. I'm going to tell you this: we have a great relationship with TMP Holy Family. We work very closely. We do a lot of things together, and I don't want to get into everything and list out what we do, but if you want specifics, I'll be glad to share that with you individually. The thing that I would say, facilities are important for both institutions. I think we have the ability, because the one thing I haven't really addressed is, the one thing that the high school will include is a new auditorium. 12th Street Auditorium, I think at one time was a great facility at Rockwell. It's not currently a great facility. The new Hayes High would have an auditorium. I can see that being something that would be open for not only our private school, if the schedule, and we'll work together, and we work together well. I think we'll be building some athletic facilities, but also at the same time, you have to understand our facilities are used after hours and available to our community after hours. You're talking more gyms, soccer fields, football surfaces that will be available for our community. And we do those currently, and we'll continue to, but we'll have more options. All of our elementaries will be getting gymnasiums, elementary gymnasiums, but it's still space for our community. And just so you understand, we currently, all our elementaries have what we call gym cafetoriums. So they triple in lots of things. The problem with that, in the day it was probably a great idea, but now gym cafetoriums determine everything we do academically. Because when we have PE, when we have lunch, that dictates everything we do during the day. And sometimes that's not the best thing academically. So all of those elementary gymnasiums will be storm shelters as well, because, and that's a whole nother issue. We won't get into a lot of that, but this will be a much better storm shelter for those schools, those elementary schools. Now, going back to the TMP Holy Family, I'm a big believer, folks, that success brings more success. TMP Holy Family, they would be the first to say we need facilities too, and they do. I think if we can pass this bond for USD 489, it suddenly spurs people to understand we've got some things we got to do for our private schools. And I truly believe success brings success for others. And I'm hoping that's the case for both institutions. What else? I love it. Yeah! Well, and going back to my timeline, I didn't spend a ton of time on that. So August of 24 would be the timeline to move in the new high school. August of 25, everyone would then transition. So it'd be 1 year later when the elementaries and the middle school would move in to their new or renovated facilities. Yes?
Could you introduce a couple of the members of that bond committee in case we have more questions or want to have more one-on-one?
Absolutely. I would love to introduce David Klingen. He is our chair. And so David is over here. Doug Williams was part of our bond visioning committee. I can just pick you guys out fast. I don't know who else is in here. Who else is in the room? Anyone else? Oh, Sarah. Sarah's over here. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Sarah was... Oh, Tara and Shane. Sorry, guys. Sorry. This is hard. You believe me. I'm like trying to figure out, okay, who was in that room? Who's in that room all the time? It was over 8 months. So, yeah. So, Shane Smith, Tara Graham. Well, yes, you can definitely. I would, or contact me, or contact Shanna, contact Chris, David, Shane, Tara, Sarah. I mean, anyone. We would love to. And if there's if there's a group that you would like to have us come talk to, we would love to come share this opportunity. Anything else? Okay, guys, I thank you for this opportunity for listening. I'm going to say it one more time. This is an opportunity for our community that I just hopefully people see the why and why this is important. And if we get the why, we'll get the how we're going to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So we just wanted to finish up with some drawings real quick. We will skip announcements just because we know we're a little bit over on time and want to get you guys out of here so you can get back to work or enjoying your weekend. So again, thank you to Golden Bell Bank for sponsoring. What are we drawing for?
Good job.
Oh, did everybody get a ticket?
Case in point.
Did I keep you?
Okay.
Yes, you
I
did.
think we're good. It's four $25 chamber checks. Woohoo! Okay. First winner is 383. 383. Lucky Sandy.
Holy Family, did I handle that question? Okay.
Next one will go to
I'm glad.
387. Alicia. Oh. Mixing it up again. And that one will go to 424. 424. And we have one final drawing for an FHSU MDC certificate valued at $219. That'll go to 403. 403. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Now, yes, I do.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm assuming that in order
397.
to get to this goal, this
397. There we go.
143.5 million,
Well, thank you to everybody for coming. As Ron did say, if you do have any further questions, please visit the school district website. You can also visit 489bond.com. Have a great afternoon.
I can't help you.
No.
Yes, thank you.
This is this
Patty, good to see you.
it's bonded, meaning we go out, we sell these bonds, and that's how the money. So really.